All right, and welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here. Happy end of the new year. Just a couple reminders. Please keep yourself muted. Should be automatic unless you called in by phone. Also, we are recording, so keep that in mind. And clearly, if we have the baby here, you can hold the baby up a little higher, and we can all look at the baby because babies are always welcome at microloan presentations. That's awesome. Congratulations. And clearly, probably one of our better attendees, I can already tell. All right. It's okay because everybody else will be drooling by the end as well. It's pretty exciting stuff. But we do welcome you back. We're getting back more on a regular schedule as we go into the year 2023. So we'll be having a few more of these, and we're even going to work towards some in-person trainings and, possibly a conference as things become more and more safe. With that, Dan, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for jumping on the call today. Like Chris said, we just want to go over a couple of things for year end since that's rapidly approaching. We haven't had a call in quite some time, so there will be time on today's call for questions and answers if you guys have questions about things, especially as they relate to year-end reporting and so on. Other than that, I did want to mention, just looking at the microlending production as it's reported in MPERS, it looks like right now we're up about 400 to 500 microloans over where we were last year. That equates to between $7 and $8 million of additional production this year. So congratulations, hats off, good job. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll have an even more prosperous fiscal year 23. So with that, Chris, why don't you go ahead and jump into the slides and the year-end reminders.
All right, we're going to jump right in, and starting off with the first reminder, if you have a question, please use the little hand thing there that says reactions next to chat. You can always also use the chat function to type your question in there. And we'd really like it if you raise your hand, turn your camera on, say hi to everybody, and ask your question. But do keep yourself mic'd until we do call upon you. All right, jumping in. Okay, we have a couple things, year-end actions that everybody needs to be aware of and or to do. So the first one is just a little housekeeping here. If by chance you have a notice of award from a grant, whether it's microloan or a prime grant, whatever, and it's pending in your office, please have the authorizing official go in and accept it. We want to be able to have everything in our grants closed out by the 30th, which is 2 days away. So again, notice of awards. The majority of you have accepted them, but I think we have a handful. Please go nudge the authorizing official, even if they're on vacation. Get to a computer and click that button on Grant Solutions to accept the grant. I would really appreciate it. Okay, this one's crucial. Number 2, this is a major pen and paper moment. Don't drop the baby. Okay, so here we go. Make sure all of your microloans for this year are in MPERS by October 7th. Clearly, based upon today and what's going on in Florida, Murphy's rule applies. So really try to get it done by the 30th. It's got to be in because this is when we're going to count your year-end production. So make sure all those microloans get in there because this is directly going to affect how much grant you will receive for the year 2023. So don't let the hurricane or any other catastrophe that may come forth interrupt your ability to put in your microloan production. Start cranking them in right now, especially all the new microloans. A reminder, they're really supposed to be in the system within 7 days of closing. So please, please take a diligent effort. Don't lose out on that grant money because you didn't get it in on time. Number 3, as a reminder, and this is getting to complete at least 10 microloans between 1 and 9/30 of 2022, and they must be in completed status in MPERS for them to be an eligible grant to be counted, or an eligible microloan to be counted towards the financial year 23 grant. So 10 microloans in completed status. So you got to fill in all those blocks. So again, with Murphy's Law hanging out there, make sure you get in there. If you have any problems, reach out to your analyst. Don't wait until 6 o'clock on the last day, because there's a better than fair chance we're not going to be available. So please make sure that you get those microloans in. It always breaks my heart when I hear people tell us, "Oh, it's I tried at 10 o'clock at night on on the 7th." You're not going to get it in there. So I see we have hand up. Terry, what's your question?
Hi, Terry with Region 9 in Southwest Colorado. My question is, what if we have 9 microloans?
Well, historically, when we have excess funds, we have given people a pro rata share. Now, if you're a brand new lender, that's within basically 2 years of joining our program. You're not under yeah. So I know. So you're not necessarily under the gun for those 10, but we have given a pro rata share. But as money will begin to start tightening up, if you don't hit 10, we are not obligated to give you a grant at all, and we don't want to put anybody in that position. But again, Terry, in your case, you have a league minimum because you're brand new into the program. Unless your production exceeds that minimum, then of course we'll give you the better of whichever it is. So we'll help you out there accordingly. So that's a great question. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
I hope everything's going well for you.
It is. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so we got that covered. Hey, good news. We are heading in. I know there's only 2 days left, but if you need additional lending capital, we do have money available. So by all means, go ahead and send your request in today, because we have to have time to process it for you to guarantee to get that chance of getting at that money. But a big heads up. You got to make sure you've used up the money in your microloan revolving fund, MRF, the MRF account. You can't come in and ask for $1 million from us when you have, $2 million sitting in the MRF, and you only do $1 million a year of lending historically. You need to be able to use up that money in the MRF. You've had to have used up 75% of the funds we gave you in the last loan. And you use that up by making microloans. So, and they have to be in MPERS. That's how we're going to check that you've made those loans. We have no other way to do it. We have proven during COVID, we are unable to read minds. We have failed. Before COVID, I had teenagers, and they too have confirmed that I cannot read a mind. Okay, we have another question. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is Jerry with Forge.
Yeah.
We're having an issue in MPERS that happens. We'll enter a loan in, we'll enter absolutely everything, but the loan will show incomplete. And it usually takes like 24 hours or even 36 hours for something to happen, and then we can complete the loan. Are other people experiencing a similar issue? Thank you.
Yep. Dan, you want to chime in?
Sure. There have been a couple of issues in MPERS, but we think they've been resolved. If you're still having issues entering new microloans into the system, shoot me an email, give me a call, and we'll walk through it. At this point, you should not be seeing a delay or error messages when you're entering microloans. The system is a little bit finicky, especially when it comes to entering social security numbers, EIN numbers for the borrower. You do have to select, the correct button and then correlate that to a correctly formatted social security number or EIN, or you could get an error message there. But if you're experiencing any issues at this point entering a microloan, shoot me an email, shoot Chris Webb an email, and we'll walk you through, and we'll share screens or whatever we have to do to make sure that you get your loan into completed status.
Okay, thank you, sir. We can get it in there, but it's almost like it's saying that this borrower has exceeded the amount of funds that can be borrowed from the SBA.
Yeah,
And
well,
they
that's
haven't. I mean, this is the first
Yeah.
loan that we put in there.
Yeah, almost 100% of the time when you receive that error message, it's an input error.
Okay.
It has to do with,
Yeah.
there are a couple of buttons
Uh-oh.
that you need to select. One of them says borrower, the other one says, or no, I'm sorry, one says individual, one says business. You need to select the right one and then enter the corresponding EIN or social security number. If you don't select, the correct combination of those two things and enter them correctly, that is the error message that you're going to receive.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And as pointed out by Jerry, every now and again, Murphy's Law will rear its ugly head, but appears it gets resolved in a day or two. So don't wait till October 7th to get those in. So it is extremely important you start entering those loans in now. Dan, you did a good job. Looks like he has to put the baby down to sleep. You did a good job. All right, moving on. We had let's see. So we talked about asking for funds to get you through the 155th period. Now, for any of you that have a small child or have insomnia, if you take a look at the SOP and read about the 155th rule, I promise you, you'll sleep like a baby. But more importantly, be very aware, as of October 1st, we do enter the 155th period. And stacking on top of that, we are definitely in a continuing resolution, AKA a CR. So when you read the SOP, you're going to find out that basically we have an estimated yearly budget. And because of the 155th period, we take our budget and divide it by 55 for all 50 states and the 5 territories we lend in. And so that's the set aside during October all the way through the end of March. And it's available on a first come, first served basis per state. Now, to complicate matters even further, when we have a CR and don't have a full year, we have to divide out by the number of months that the CR is for. So that makes the funding available in each one of your states during the CR period of the 155th very limited. So you want to ask for that money now. You want to be mindful that, especially the newbies that have joined on, and by the way, congratulations, you're here, you're making it. And go ahead and use chat feature to introduce yourself and say hi to everybody. But during that time period, you really try to be mindful to grab your money in April through the end of September. And historically, I mean, the past, obviously, 3 or 4 years, we've had plenty of plan on asking for that money, certainly by June through at least a full year. So when you're doing your budgeting, take a look at it from that conservative viewpoint. It's very rare, quite honestly, in the 11 years I've been in a microloan program here, that we've had money available at the end of September. Matter of fact, it's only because during COVID. Historically, at the latest, we've seen the money dry up near August, and it's not uncommon for it to be gone by about the second week of June. So keep that in mind. And if you do run out, we will go over the math and the situation with you on the 155th, and if we are or are not in a continual resolution. So keep that in mind as you budget your lending needs. So with that, these are the important reminders. So again, you can take a look here. You've written down, get your stuff into Emperors by the 7th. Make sure you've accepted your notice of awards. You got to have 10 microloans unless you're a newbie. And we have funds available. And we're heading into the 155th and a new year. So happy almost federal new year to you all. And we're going to head into the question and answers. But as a reminder, get a little bit more mileage out of that pre-TA by partnering with our SBA scores, SBDCs, Women Business Centers, and our veteran business offices. And I don't have my icon up there, but if you haven't learned about our surety bond program and you have borrowers needing bonding, please reach out to the district program. We have some of the best stuff ever in regards to bonds. So make sure you reach out and grab that. And I think we had a question come into chat. So let's take a look. And let's see. Hi. Which screen and grant solution confirms that we've accepted our award? That's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head. But I believe if you go in there and look at your status, you'll see on the far right where you're at and what's the next step that you need to do. In regards to accepting it, there's a link in the email that was sent to your authorizing official. Dan or any of our staff know the exact screen. They may be hustling right now looking.
Yeah, I'm not hustling and looking. I would just mention that if there's any question about whether or not your organization has accepted the grant award for fiscal year 22, contact your headquarters financial analyst, and for sure, while you're on the call with them, they can go into Grant Solutions and see whether or not the system is showing that the NOA has been accepted or not.
Yeah, in the old days, it was a dramatic moment, which we sent you a PDF and you had to do a blue ink signature and trumpets were played and marching bands were sent to your office to know that you accepted the grant award. Now you just go into Grant Solutions and check a box. It's kind of anticlimactic considering all the work you do for us to get it in there. And we do appreciate you utilizing the system, and I think it's making it a little bit easier. So that's good. Can you please repeat what you said about maximizing your pre-TA resource with partners? Absolutely. So up on the screen, you will see other technical assistant resources that the SBA provides and partners with. So we have our SCORE office, which is retired business owners, and they mentor and can help people like with a business plan, etc. The SBDCs do the same thing, low cost training, whether people need a little bit more accounting 101, etc. These are all great services that come at no to very low cost. Women business centers in your area very often also get their own grant from us to do counseling and business advice and training. As well as if you have a veteran, the veteran business offices, we call them VBOCs. We're the federal government. We have to come up with all these cool acronyms. So you can see right there, we got 4 of them. Dan and I are retired from the acronym department of the federal government. And so they moved us over here. We were very proud of it until we came up with a couple others that unfortunately were not as popular. No, these are all, our small business development, our women business centers and veteran business offices. They're all available for your client. So we really want to be able to have you maximize your technical assistance. So instead of you taking time, let's say, to teach an accounting software, and we're a federal employee, so I can't endorse a product, but say there was a accounting product out there called SlowBooks, and you wanted some training on that, and you had a limited TA funds, the SBDC, the Women's Business Center, the VBOC would probably be a really good choice. Now, how you reach out to them, you can look right down there. We have a link, sba.gov/local-assistance. More importantly, you can call your local SBA field office, and they are very excited to get you in contact and have you work with these folks. So let's see here. Going through.
It
If
looks like Terry had a question. Can you repeat what you said? When should we have funds requested to budget for lending? I think, the really easy way to think about this is, if you know what your burn rate is, your production rate in terms of closing new microloans, and it looks like you will run out of lending capital between October and March, then you should be requesting more funds now. Requesting funds now doesn't necessarily mean that we'll approve your request, but if it looks like, if it looks to you like there's a good chance you're going to run out of SBA lending capital between October 1st and March 30th, then you should be looking at getting a request for additional funds into us right now. And right now means today, tomorrow, so that we can try and review your request and get it approved and commit those funds to your organization before the end of the fiscal year. If we run past September 30th into that 155th period, the lending funds are going to be are going to be greatly diminished because of the CR and because we're in that 155th period. So, if it looks like you're going to run out of lending capital between October and March, you should strongly consider putting a request for funds in right now.
All right. And some people here answered the question about grant solutions, which is really great. If your grant is marked as active, you have accepted the grant. So that's kind of the easiest way to realize that. And thank you very much, Ren, for letting us know on that. That's awesome. So with that, we're heading into the generic questions. Please ask any question you want. I guarantee you somebody else in the audience wants to know it as well. You've already had some great ones here so far, and we can, be available for you very often. I think this is the part of the presentation that is more edifying than any other part than Dan and I are giant talking head. So, with that, do we have any other questions? It doesn't have to be related to year-end reminders. Callie, go ahead, unmute yourself. Turn your camera on. Say hi to the folks.
I think I have my camera on. Hi, everybody. Callie from Common Capital here. I just want to confirm, I saw an email coming from Ken, our analyst, that indicated that microloans cannot have an initial interest-only period. I just want to confirm that that's the case.
That is absolutely 100% correct. Interest-only periods are for, let's say, a hurricane that's coming and the business is disrupted. The interest-only period is a tool for you to keep that loan from failing. It should not be part of your standard operating financial terms and conditions at all. So please do not do that. It's not like we're going to jump up and down and, make you charge the loan off, but we're telling you, do not use that microloan interest only period. You only get one of them. It's for a 6-month period. And it worked great for a lot of people during the pandemic. It's going to work great for people down in Florida that may need that during the disruption after this hurricane. To use it up in part of your standard operating procedure, number one, is not the intent of our program. It has to be fully amortizing, no balloons. And the interest-only period is going to require you to somehow either change the note or recast the note. So in the event you do use it, you need to reach out to your analyst and let them know, hey, we had to recast this note. We had to change the term of this note, and you're going to reach out to your analyst twice because during the interest-only period, you have to adjust the payment as well in Empers. We need to know what's going on because, again, in the result of a giant issue where we can start paying you money like we did in COVID, we need to know that we have the payment correct. And as Okram comes in and randomly grabs files from you on your year visit, they want to see your documentation of servicing. ask about that here, especially the last 2 or 3 months. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, Callie. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see here. What's the process for requesting funds? Great question. And Dan typed it in there. So at the speed of a chicken pecking on corn, Dan was able to type in the answer. So you can take a look there in the chat function. But to recap, basically, you need to tell us how much you need. You need to talk about your backlog. Probably not the bad dog report there, Dan. The backlog report, you're basically what you have pending, ready to be lent upon. So very, very important that we see everything that you have in line to go with your request. So that, we can see that you're justifying and supporting, because we're going to look at your historic. And if you're in a period of growth, we need that pipeline report to help support the future growth. Because again, we don't know. Somebody asked, when are we going to release the new SOP? And Dan said, yeah, somewhere in 2023. We're still typing as fast as we can. Terry, do you still have a question? Or Callie, your hands are still up, or did I forget to lower them?
No, I have a question.
Awesome.
Sorry to be so needy.
Nope.
On the microloan checklist, there are several items on the checklist that says see worksheet, and I have looked through the SOP. I've looked online to see where this worksheet might be. Is there a worksheet that exists?
Yeah, it's a tool that we handed out, and we can certainly send it to you. It's not a problem. And again, when it says you look for that worksheet, where are you looking again?
Well, I looked on the SOP, through the SOP, and then I tried to type it in, like just doing a Google search.
Hey, Terry,
Yeah.
which checklist are you talking about? Can you be more specific?
It is the microloan checklist that we're supposed to check off when we're, it has all the things that we're supposed to collect from the borrower.
That may be more of like a best practice of things that you need in regards that have to be in your file for compliance. You're in charge of your own underwriting standards. That's one of the keys of our success, because how you're going to do things in Colorado are going to be completely different than what they do in Massachusetts. You guys sell ice cream completely differently. And lobster ice cream, I'm sorry, Massachusetts, ain't going to happen. Never going to be more popular outside of your area. But in Colorado, how you do it, it probably rocks. So we don't get involved. But there is a checklist that we created for the components that should be in every lending file. So with that in mind, do take a moment to reach out to your analyst, and they will send it to you. And that way you have it for a quality control purpose.
Thank you.
And that's an awesome question. And no, questions are not needy. And for everybody online, do not suffer from paralysis of analysis. You are required to reach out to your analyst. They're customer centric and ask questions. And certainly these opportunities, in lieu of us being in person, you have to do it. If this was a longer presentation, I can assure you that if nobody asks questions, we don't even have a bathroom break until somebody asks. And I can tell you, Lou Whalen up there has had a lot of coffee, so he's going to want people to ask questions. Otherwise, it's going to be a very tragic event. So very, very important. Please ask questions. Okay, we have another hand up. Let me switch over here.
Hey, before we do the hand up, it looks like, let's see, Dan, will the new SOP include all the CARES Act procedural changes and so on? Yes, they'll be outlined in the new SOP, but they have been implemented by the procedural notice that we published, I don't know, going on a year ago. So the change, like in the maximum microloan term going from 6 years to 7, that's fully implemented, even though it's not in an updated SOP yet. Any of those changes that were mentioned in that prior procedural notice are effective. So But yes, they will be outlined in greater detail in the new SOP update.
All right, let's see here. People are commenting about lobster ice cream and putting maple syrup on it. You're all wrong. Terry, did you ask your question, or do I need to put your hand down? All right, thank you. Ryan, you are up. Go ahead and unmic and flip your camera on. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, thanks. This is Ryan Shoup from Westminster Economic Development Initiative in Buffalo. I have a question about entering participants into MPERS versus entering the loan. Specifically, recently I was able to enter a loan, but I was getting error messages when I tried to enter the participants. And I was wondering if that's even necessary, because I noticed that basically all that information is duplicate when you make the loan entry as well.
Yeah, you really don't need to use the participant entry screen anymore. We're no longer collecting TA information, and for a large part, the entering of participants was so that we could capture TA on participants that had not received a microloan yet, and we're just not using those screens. There's a lot of work being done on the MPERS system. Some enhancements. Some of it is required because to implement some of the things that were in the CARES Act, we need to make some changes in MPERS, and we're doing some updates to MPERS to hopefully make your lives a little bit easier than what they are right now. But no, you don't need to use the participant screen. Just enter the new microloan directly into the enter new microloan screen, and that should be it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Ryan. Next question. Will there be an in-training by the SBA, and will you be covering the cost? The answer to both of those is yes. If we have in-person training, which we are planning on this coming spring, summer in 2023, in the event we do that, yes, we will be doing a separate, like we have in the past. We generally will send out a grant offering. Somebody will manage the conference and reimbursing. And once we see what our budget is, we'll let you know if we're paying for 1 or 2 people. In the past, I think we've generally been able to cover for 2. And also, you're able to use part of your microloan grant that you just received. Some of those monies can also be used to pay for any difference for any of you that are coming from Maine and having a hard time getting a flight because you put maple syrup on lobster ice cream, because I wouldn't let you on the plane. All right, so giving those people a hard time. There you go.
It looks like Bill had a question. What's the current rule on TA reimbursement timing after approval? There's a process. You get to the end of a project quarter, you have 30 days to complete your report, send it into the program office. Program office generally takes 30 days or less to review and recommend payment. It then goes to our grants management team, who has to review it and send it on to our Denver Finance Center for ultimately for getting paid. I will tell you that we're extremely short-staffed in our grants department, and it has been taking longer than normal to get reimbursements paid. So be patient, but if it's been several months since you submitted your request and you haven't received payment, then go ahead and get a hold of your HQ financial analyst and let us do a little bit of checking in-house on your behalf to see where your reimbursement is. We certainly want to make sure you guys get paid in a timely manner, and we know payments have been slow. But if it's been a couple of months and you haven't received payment, then let us know.
We're doing the best we can. Yes, they're trying to hire people down there, but anybody that ever worked for the federal service, it takes a while to get anybody onboarded. So do know that when Dan and I hire somebody, we look for the fact that they have no life. And so we do turn it around fairly quickly in our division, but there is still other checks and balances that have to be done in the grants office, and they are very shorthanded right now. Are we allowed to have loans with seasoned interest periods throughout the loan term? Oh, seasonal interest, sorry. Yeah, if you have somebody, let's say, is a landscaper and they cut grass and they basically make their money for 6 months and then the rest of the time they hibernate. You can structure a loan with seasonal payments in there. Your credit memo and everything need to explain that. And certainly we can go over more detail about seasonal structures with you and your via your analyst, or Dan and I'd be happy to go over that. Given the current interest, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, Bill was asking, when will the TA calculator workbook be available? It's available right now. If you haven't received it for your fiscal year 22 grant yet, then contact your FA and they should be able to shoot a copy of it to you right now.
Yeah. Given the interest rate environment, is the SBA considering a rate hike in the near term? Oh, we've been going right up with them. If you get a new SBA loan, you're going to find the age of no interest rate or less than 1% is over. We update it, I believe, monthly, Dan? Yep, Dan looks forward to it. He sends us a very exciting email. He does the interest rate dance, and it's announced. So yes, the interest rates are higher on the SBA loan, i.e. your cost of funds, in which you will be applying your margin to the microloan. So they are already in the place and they adjust very often. They won't adjust your existing note because when you close it, that locks it in. But any new SBA funds are going to cost more. So
Right.
Those older loans are more valuable to your borrowers now.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you request a new loan right now, I believe the 5-year Treasury is it's between 2 7/8 and 3. Your actual cost gets discounted depending on your microloan activity. It's either discounted by 1.25% or 2%. So your actual cost of borrowing money from SBA right now is still in that less than 1% to 1% range, maybe slightly over 1%. But yeah, rates have definitely kicked up and could potentially go higher, more towards that 3.5%, 3.75% as a base rate if there's another 0.75% hike. So, but the good news is we do still have money available, which isn't always true, especially this time of the fiscal year. So I guess that's the trade-off.
The magic, somebody asked, remind us the size of the microloan to get the largest discount. Well, that's a trick question because there's two parts of that. You want to take that, Dan, because I know you love that, and I think the baby woke up. So go ahead.
All right, do my best to put the baby right back to sleep there, Mel. Yeah, so we look at your micro lending activities, for your entire time that you've been in the program. So we look at every microloan. And if the average is $10,000 or less in terms of the microloan size, then you qualify for the larger discount. If your average microloan size is above $10,000, then you qualify for the smaller discount. And then as you're making new microloans using the SBA money, you can put a larger premium or spread of 8.5% on your smaller microloans, the 10,000 and under microloans. On the larger microloans, your maximum spread over your cost of funds is 7 3/4. So it's a little bit of a complicated formula, to figure out first, how much discount are you getting, and then again, how much you can add in terms of your spread over your cost of funds. But that's the way it works.
And feel free to call your analyst. We can do a detailed training on that. That's one of our favorite webinars to present, and will be covered in person in 2023. So again, it's an important thing to know, and it's very important if you have a small baby that needs to go to sleep as well. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? It's wide open, folks. This is it. You've been wanting to talk to us. Folks there can post the lobster ice cream recipe. Go right ahead. Let's see. We got a question. Making sure to log in to prevent the AO from being locked out in the system. Super annoying. Yes, it is. Will that be something being changed in the future? No, it will not. That is a super cybersecurity technique in which basically we try to make sure there are no dead accounts, or what they sometimes call in the geek world a dead entry. So every 60 days, and for us, it's even worse because it's every 30 days. If for some reason we go on vacation and it's the wrong time of the month for us and we haven't logged on, they start turning off all of our access to all sorts of different things. It gets real exciting real fast. But it is an important part of cybersecurity. And it has been working for us. And again, cybersecurity is a phenomenal technical assistance subject for you to consider. Let's see what other questions rolled in here. Let's see, making sure you have the login. Any idea what quarter the training will be in? Probably the closer to summer, sometime between May and July is my guess. We have a lot of balls in the air because we have to pick a location. We try to be centrally located. Ideally, we like to try to get these things piggybacked. We try to issue and work with somebody that has experience in making 10,000 payments. The last time we managed it internally, it went great. But we also had a staff that was about 40% larger. We cannot do that now. So we have to hire somebody, coordinate, find a venue that's available that can accommodate you and 300 of our best friends to come together, and that it's a proper environment conducive to learning. So once we have all that figured out, in addition to everything else we do and pushing those grants through, we'll have a in-person conference. We want to get back to it. We generally do them every 2 years. So we hope to have that done, but we almost always have them in the spring, maybe closer to summer this time. The IVIS IRS transcripts continue to cause delays. So frustrating. I'll run right over there. They listen to me, and I will just go right over there and correct them. I'm sorry for that. No, IRS is probably more short-staffed than we are. Yeah, I have nothing to tell you. The sad fact is, if you were doing 7(a) lending, and we do underwriting outside or inside over in Citrus Heights, we use the same system. We have the same delay. We would think because we're in the government, we would get quicker service, and that is not the case. I'm sorry about that. They are very busy. So hopefully that'll work its way out here sooner than later. When will new revamped Empers be launched? Yeah, that's a great question. We do have some things in the background working right now that we will be doing training on here later this fall. And I think you'll be excited. It'll be dealing with quarterly submissions. Hopefully, if everything goes well through our testing period here, you will be able to submit your data right into Empers directly and upload your bank statements and no longer have to send those annoying PDFs and chop them up in under 10 megs. And that should streamline the quarterly process. So assuming that works well, I'm hoping that will be a blueprint for any other type of submission that we need to do. Go ahead.
Right. I was just going to say automating the MRF-LERF reconciliation piece of the quarterly reporting. We're expecting that to come online around the end of Q2 for our fiscal year. So around the end of the calendar year, around December 31. If we're going to put it online during that time period, we will have training at least a couple of times before that so that everybody gets up to speed on, how the system works and what the requirement is and how to work with it. Right now, we're testing it. We're using the data that you send into us for the June quarter and the September quarter, and we're actually entering that data ourselves into the system, trying to test, to make sure that everything is working properly. And we're not going to implement it and have you guys start using that piece of the system until we know we've tested it and it works properly. Also, if you guys are using a service, to report on your microloans and it has an impact on your file that you upload into MPERS, we'll make sure that your service provider is also brought up to speed if they need to make any kind of systems changes. So there's quite a lot of IT work going on in the background right now. But we're not going to implement anything and make it a requirement on you until it's been fully tested and we've had a chance to fully train everybody. Some of the other things that are going on in the background, we have to be able to have the system identify which microloans that are being entered into the system are located in a distressed area. And we also have to have the system make a determination if a microloan is in a rural area or an urban area. So right now, some of the IT guys are working on the data sets that will be used to make that determination and, putting the programming in place to make that determination automatically. So some of that work's going on right now, and that's being tested also. And that's something that we have to implement under the CARES Act, under some of the changes in the legislation that were made under the CARES Act. And in that case, you won't have to do anything. The system will go to the data table and make that determination. Yes or no, it's in a distressed area. Yes or no, it's in a rural area. So you guys won't have to do anything more than what you're doing now. Basically enter in the location, the business owner's location, and the system will automatically do that work for you. But I would suspect that you'll start to see some changes in MPERS around the end of the calendar year. And, as we get closer to implementing those kinds of changes, anything that will have any impact on your reporting, we'll do training and, make sure that everything is tested and is working properly first.
Good job, Dan. The baby's asleep. Mel thanks you. All right, way to go. Look at Air. All right, anybody else, again, has babies or insomnia, Dan's available. Let's see. If we have a loan that is paid off with the SBA and it becomes unrestricted funds, but we still have some loans utilizing those funds, what's the best way to move other funds not being utilized for the loan? All right, well, I think what you're saying is you paid off your SBA loan. The money in the MRF and LERF is now yours. You can do whatever you want with it. You can use it to get more microloans, SBA loans from us. You can take it to Vegas, do extra TA, whatever. But you also have microloans that are left over. So those become your property. And you basically have two options, what you can do. You can move those microloans into another SBA loan, which will help your collateral coverage. And you just put it right in there and they service out to the end of their term. Or you can keep them and they're yours and you can do again and handle those any way you want. But that's really about it. So I know that some people, when you're getting near like the last year of your SBA loan, they go, oh, we can't make any more microloans. That's not true. you can utilize those funds and roll them over, and that'll help you with collateral coverage with a new loan or older loans, et cetera. So keep that in mind. I think that hopefully will answer your question. If not, we can go over that again offline. Will there be more virtual training? Of course, Kelly. We love doing it. Kellyanne, we love it. And Dan just mentioned we'll be doing everything you wanted to know about Empers, but afraid to ask. So there you go. Is there a particular format for TA notes or specific information we should include? We just had our annual SBA audit and they asked for more detail. I haven't heard back about what exactly we need. I'm assuming you're talking about the narrative, Jane, and for that, I'll give it Dan because he loves reading narratives.
No, I think what she's talking about is they probably had a site visit or a virtual site visit, and they were looking at, their lending file and looking for notes on the training and TA that was provided for that borrower. There is not a specific format for keeping notes on your training and TA, but in your lending file, when you provide training and TA, you should put a note in the file, just basically says, look, on this day, we met with XYZ borrower. We spent 2 hours one-on-one training on, social media or marketing or finance or whatever you were doing training on, and just put a note in the file. I don't think they're going to look for anything more detailed than that. But as you provide the training, you should put a note in the lender file so that when they're doing a field audit, they can see that you are actually providing training and TA to your borrowers.
All right. For folks interested in more tax transcript information, there was a little bit of banter going on in the chat section. That's if you look above and hit chat, scroll through there. Seems like a great conversation between Susan and Samuel. That'll get you up to speed. You guys can take a look at that. And that may be a solution for you. Mel, you're awake, buddy. Go ahead. What's your question?
Oh, I'm just saying, I actually don't see chat. I don't think my access on your end has control to see chat. So that's all. Thank you.
Do you have the little thing up top right next to the left of where you raised your hand should be a thing called chat? You don't have that?
I don't have that.
Huh. Do you have 3 little dots and the word more?
Yes. It
Okay.
shows more, show device, enter full pane. The chat's not there, which I'm familiar that should be there, but it's not there.
That is very odd, and I have no idea what Teams is doing to you. But if you're interested in that, I can tell you to talk to, let's see, Samuel. You want to fire up your email there and just unmic yourself and tell Mel what your email is so you guys can include him. I mean, he did bring a baby.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, my name is Samuel Kellett. I will put my email here on that information.
He can't see the chat, so if you could
don't
just
have
tell
chat.
him your email and 300 of your best friends will talk to you.
Sorry, it is skellett, SKELLETT at Sabre, SABRE, finance.org.
And Mel, somebody said on an iPad, it might be in the lower left. So if you're using possibly an iProduct, chat function may be at the lower left. So there you go. Let's see. Notes were asked to start. Let's see. We were told to say if it was a phone call training or an on-site training or an email or Zoom. That's probably a good thing for you to probably track in regards to the type of TA you're doing. We may not add that yet, but we'll probably go to there because we are very interested in finding out what works best in person. A lot of people are becoming big technophiles with mission lending, And some stuff works and some stuff doesn't. We've definitely seen that. So if we don't collect the data point, we'll never know the answer. So definitely how you presented the TA would be an important thing for you to just probably track and be very useful for your own organization, as well as just, to satisfy Okram. Okay, let's see. TA notes. We were asked to start tracking method for delivery. Yeah, you have to track all your TA. You have to do your hours, who taught it, what was the subject, and who you gave it to. And generally, right in there would be the method, because and here's probably why they're asking for the method. I'll give you a simple example. If you're doing everything in teams like we're doing right now, but you're submitting in travel reimbursement for TA, but you're saying in your narrative you're doing all 100% virtual, then you can't be billing us for travel. So, this is all part of correlating your budget and looking at everything. So, and if you're having expenditures in the other category, let's say you were picking up a webcam system, one that tracks you and does all sorts of fun stuff, a little bit more fancier than this, because you do mostly virtual. Again, we just want to see that, there's a correlation of support across the grant. So, tracking it does make sense on multiple levels. Let's see here. Is anyone having an error in Emperors when they try to enter in with a business that has 2 owners? Dan, I know that's your favorite.
Sure. Yes, there has been a problem in Emperors when folks try to enter an additional borrower. It is a known problem. However, last I heard from our IT folks, they thought that had been resolved. If that's not the case, and you're trying to enter an additional borrower and you're getting an error, take a screenshot of the error and send it to me, okay? And that's something that, we'll have to bring up again with our IT folks. So yeah, shoot it to me via email and we'll make sure it gets resolved.
And just be mindful you're putting the EIN number in for the business and Social Security in for the person. We see people swapping those around a bit, and that causes a hiccup as well. Joy, you have a question. Go ahead and unmic yourself, turn your camera on, and say hi to the entire microlending world. Or at least unmic yourself.
Maybe you meant Hannah Joy. I did raise my hand. My name's Hannah. I didn't want Mel to feel alone. I also do not have chat.
All right, that's interesting. What kind of system are you on? Is it Windows?
Yep, it's Windows, and I'm not on a laptop or anything. And I'm fairly computer literate. I've been looking for it this whole time.
Huh, that is odd. I will talk to our IT people. We have them cultivating under fluorescent lights in the basement and see what's going on, because it should be there. Maybe it's a web version. Did you log in with the web version, or do you? If you had Teams, it would be there. Let's see. I'll have to do some research in there, Jerry. If you are zoomed into a lot, it will drop options. Okay. Yeah, you may have to go under maybe the rooms or a configuration of how you're looking at us, whether we're at a breakout or stadium or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll experiment with it. And of course, Bing or Google search it, and I'm sure there'll be a solution there. Here, hold the control button and roll the mouse out, and hopefully it will appear. So there you go. The old hold the mouse and roll and zoom. Mel, did you say it just worked? No. All right. You're wrong, Jerry. Way to go. No, I have no idea either, folks. It's all right there on my upper right-hand corner, but it may be something to do with the configuration of your teams. We'll we'll figure it out. Yeah, Jerry, thank you. That was a good suggestion, actually. So thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? You got us here. All right. Well, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We're right at an hour, which is generally our target, but we're here for you. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns, we're here for you. And as always, please do not wait. If you have something pressing and you want to know, send us an email, give us a phone call, and we'll set up a time with your organization. We can do straight trainings with your organization. Customize it to address your various needs. We standardize these presentations, but we can customize it to your organization depending upon where you are or where the gap is in your knowledge of our system. So with that, thank you so much for your time. Keep safe. There's a lot going on here on the East Coast, so be mindful, folks, and we'll be cranking those grants out as quick as we can. If you need those loan funds, send them in. Get into Empers. Make the magic happen. Mel, bring the baby back next time. That was fun. That made this call probably one of the more successful ones. So that's great. Anybody else, feel free to bring theoretically your baby, but you can bring a stranger's too. That'll be awkward, but and we'll be able to let the authorities know where you're at. But anyway, nonetheless, thank you so much for attending. We're going to hang out here for a little bit. I'm going to turn the recording off so you can ask those other questions, I guess. And we're going to hang out here. Should you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please